Well, it all began years ago. It was 9/11/2010, my birthday. My girlfriend and I were walking the woods around 8 p.m. I took her out to my neighbor's 7 to 10 acre pond. It was extremely foggy for some odd reason. I asked her if she ever seen the back trail. She said no, so I took her towards the back trail, and while we were walking we heard something stomping and thrashing in the woods. I was honestly freaked out, but we kept going, so we approach the path and she freezes. She is just standing still staring at something. I keep asking her what's wrong, but she wouldn't answer. This is the point where all hell broke loose. She said, I think we should leave. So we were walking back to the entrance when we both just started seeing these huge shadow figures. We are running at this point because we are seeing them running all over the place. When we got to the gate, I asked her what she saw. She's sensitive to spirits and the such. She said she seen a man yelling at us saying, "You're not welcomed here, get out now." So we brush it off. The next day though, I went out there alone, confronting whatever was out there to leave us alone. I know the landowner, and I was shouting this along with adding, we have a right to walk these woods. Well, I might as well have been poking a bear with a stick. As soon as I said it and started walking home, there was a sudden change to the woods. The birds were going absolutely crazy. I began hearing loud thumping footsteps in the woods next to me. The birds were cawing and flying away. I was approaching my paintball field when out of nowhere this orb whizzes by my head. I was sitting out there listening to the footsteps. Things didn't start getting weird until 2 weeks later, when I was in the basement on the couch with my cat. I was on my laptop doing whatever I was doing at the time. My cat was laying next to me. I then heard footsteps slowly coming down the stairs. Thump, 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 thump. My cat's eyes were bugging out. No one was home, so I was dumbfounded. A week later, I was laying on my bed with my girlfriend staring at the ceiling. She asked me, "What's that black and red blob on your ceiling?" I said, "What blob? You don't see that blob on your ceiling." I was like, "No." I began feeling horrible depression and anger for no reason. I was afraid to be in my own home. I would go in the woods or see my girlfriend at her house, anything to stay away from home. It go so bad to where I just shouted out loud at the top of my lungs, "Get the fuck out of my house, you're not welcomed here, get lost." The activity stopped for a while. I originally thought the spirit was a former landowner of the woods from a description my girlfriend and the current landowner gave. Nothing then happened until a year or two later in November. I took her on a walk in the nature preserve that's right next to my neighbor's land. She was standing still again like that night in the woods. She was getting weak in the legs, so I helped her back to the car and we left. I will never forget what happened later that night. She was laying on my bed staring at my ceiling, and her eyes roll back and she starts laughing in this horrible voice. It was not her voice, and I rushed downstairs for help, and when my mom and I came upstairs, she was sitting up dumbfounded. I will tell you now, she has never seen me cry in the 5 years we have been together. I sought for help from my friend, who's my ex, for help since she's dealt with the paranormal her whole life. It's really strange how this all happened. She put together what happened and traced it back to her because the night I sought her help, it visited her and she knew. This was a demon that haunted her for 5 long years. I knew something big was about to happen. I was relieved of some torment when I was given a cleansing by my ex-girlfriend husband's sister, who's a medium. It was a very strange and powerful experience. She reached to shake my hand and immediately locked tight onto my hand. Then she started screaming at me, at which point they all said I was growling at her. I have memory of this. It felt like I was being influenced to growl. She then got in my name and shouted at Narth. Then my friend, her husband, and the medium held hands around me and started praying. Now the medium is not exactly a Christian because she follows all forms of belief, so let's just call her a shaman, but I felt like a weight was being lifted from my shoulders and the wind was howling madly. It was done outside. After they performed the cleansing, you could see a black shadow running away. I felt like my bubbly old self again. After the ritual, the medium gave me a Celtic protection amulet that I must wear. They cannot harm me while I wear it. However, they can and are still testing me for weak points. The night after the ritual, I seen one of the female demons in my dreams. She looked like a elf, pale yellow skin and huge black eyes. I will never forget those eyes. They are still in our realm and I'm almost positive they are still in the woods. I have since gone in the woods and have exited full of unexplainable fury. I had gone through many troubles to find a way to rid them from this world. I was forwarded to a woman who could help me. She is a white witch and a medium. She knew right away what was happening with me. She read my palm and said I have had many past lives and my battle with these things is ancient. They have come back to get me in this life because I banished them in a past life. She told me to laugh at them. They cannot exist in a place where positive energy exists. She gave me a quote to say that would drive them insane, and that quote is, darkness is the illusion, light is the reality, all is light. After this, a week and a half later, she contacted me on how to rid them from the woods. I was to make an oath with the trees of the woods. If I did this I would seal the door, except it never did, between this world and the next for all spirits that do not belong there, so I slowly gained courage to go out there. That day was a special day. I went out there with my .22 rifle, shirtless with the sun shining on me. I hugged the greatest of the trees out there and said, "Join me in alliance against all evil, take my energy and give me yours, may this wood stand long after I am gone." I did this with a dozen trees. By time I was done it felt so strange out there. I went home afterwards. A few days go by and she contacts me telling me the spirits say my oath was successful and the darkness had left. She recommended I offer tobacco to the natives and to the land, which I did. My girlfriend had an experience after we did this. She seen a Native American couple, a man and a woman, make a hand gesture like they were pleased with what we had done. Those woods feel and look so much brighter now. Things still go on though, even to this day. Something bigger is in those woods. Whatever it is, I pissed it off and it paid me a visit. I later took my friend out there, 2 of them actually. The first person I took to confront it was the same person who did the exorcism on me. My girlfriend, my friend, and myself went out to the area. And oddly enough were drawn to an area I used to hang out at. I called the sanctuary. It's an absolutely beautiful area and it's a shame because I cannot go out there anymore. More so a deal I made with this thing: if I don't go out there it leaves me alone. It's been out there longer than all of us have been alive. But in the end I really think she didn't help at all, and in fact probably cursed me. We had a falling out because I didn't like how personal she was getting in my relationship with my fiancé. Because it seems things escalated after we split and she's known to be vindictive. Then years later my buddy and I went out there to just horse around at night, chit-chat the usual. All was calm. It was a 3/4s full moon, the month of March, a clear sky, so the moon lit up almost everything. We go by the same area where it all began all those years ago, and damn it, he stopped dead cold. He's also a very sensitive person and the area where it resides was pitch black. The woods to our left we would see clearly through and the woods to our right was pure darkness. He started involuntary jerking towards it like he was being pulled. He said, "You see this right?" I said, "Yeah, I do." He then asked, "Does it ever come out of its area?" I said, "No, not really. Because it's stepping out of the woods and back and forth." He said it was like it was trying to talk to him. So we decided it was best to leave. As we leave the woods behind us that was once light was now pitch black, and he said it's following us. So we get to the gazebo at the pond and the darkness is still spreading like a blanket. He says we need to get the hell out of here. So we exit out of the front entrance by the horses. Darkness is still spreading. Gazebo that once had moonlight is now pure darkness. We get to the horses and all of them turn around and look in the direction we came. They obviously see it. The darkness stopped and he said he stopped following. I haven't been out there at night since 10/08/2017. My fiancé and I decide we would go on a ride on my dad's golf cart to the man-made pond out in my neighbor's woods. It's about 10 acres and stocked with fish. It was around 6:15 p.m. We go out there and sit for a while, then go for a drive to back part of the woods where this all began. It was 65 outside, but when we got to that exact area it felt like it was 55 degrees. Nothing happens until later. I take her home, kiss her goodbye. I was driving home around 11 p.m. listening to Burzum Gullator, and while I was driving through town I went into deep though, a trance if you will. I was thinking what would happen if I took a team out there to investigate the woods. It was like I was focusing on the woods in a deep trance. Just then I almost get slammed by a guy not paying attention in a roundabout. I freak out and snap out of it. I call my fiancée and she's freaking out as her cats are acting crazy and she's randomly getting sick, vomiting and diarrhea. So I go to call my friend, who I took out there, but before I did I turned on the kitchen light. He never answered, so I come back inside and the light is off, no one is awake. A couple months later my dear friend committed suicide as he was tormented by something as well. He had his demons both literally and mentally. I haven't been out there since. Lately activity has been ramping up. I have been having incidents in my bathroom of my shampoo bottle being squeezed all over the floor of the tub on purpose. My sister wouldn't do this as she knows I would troll her mercilessly, and when my fiancé and I are alone in the house we get strongholders of shit that just appear out of nowhere and leave as soon as they came. Could be pipes, but then there's the banging on the walls, doors opening, and well, what my fiancé found 2 weeks ago, May 2020, really has me uneasy. She went to bathroom and right before she closed the door she called me over and showed me a inverted cross drawn on the shower wall in shampoo. She didn't do it because she literally just got up and we were the only ones home. I get people saying I need to find Jesus and this and that, but that's not who I am. I was meant to be pagan and I worship the old gods, the light healers I work with, one of them a Roman Catholic exorcist, say not everyone's a Christian and that's fine. Apparently from what he's learned, what's done is done. This thing is possibly generational as there is no clear way to get rid of it. There are ways to keep it at bay but nothing I have done has worked. They later abandoned me after they figured out what it possibly was. They claimed it was a Wendigo and the medium told me he had visions of the woods full of death and something huge and hulking. Always hungry and roaming the woods. I basically ignore it now and it seems to work for the most part.